the NMC are watching. RMN Behaving Badly, a topical, political, and not in any way watching its tone podcast about mental health nursing in the UK. Your hosts are Stuart McKenzie and me, Ed Freshwater. Welcome to the show. Now, those of you that joined us for the last live show will know the format, but for the benefit of all the newbies, and there's a few of you tonight, here's the blurb. So normally the podcast gets recorded. I spend a few hours editing out the dross, the mistakes, the pauses, the ums, the ahs, the inappropriate jokes, and the swearing. And the podcast normally just over an hour, so you can imagine just how much work that is. But tonight, this is all done live and going out unedited, so all the silliness is in and all the top quality productions out of the window. No nice fade-ins, no nice fade-outs. All the music's running on my phone. There's going to be alcohol, there's going to be swearing, there's going to be really ill-informed political ranting. It's going to be kind of like a socialist Weatherspoons. You're not just here to listen, though. You can join in using the chat box on the right. You can use Twitter using the hashtag RMNBBLive. Comments and heckles are equally welcome. We'll do a Q&A at the end with myself, with Stuart, and with our two top comics. And if there's anything you want to ask me, Stuart, Susan, or Susie, send in your questions, and I'll be like Fiona Bruce for a bit. Tonight, we're joined by two fantastic comedians, Susie McCabe and Susan Morrison, who've given their time tonight to give you a laugh. But to earn all of that free comedy, first of all, you've got to listen to me and my co-host, the effervescent and ever-present Stuart McKenzie. Good evening, comrade. Unmute yourself and tell me how you are. No, that's no good, mate. You've got to unmute yourself. This is a one-man show now. This is terrible.
You said to me you were in charge of all of this technical stuff. I have no idea. I don't bring any skill to that.
Are you not?
Listen, watch your tone. Watch your tone.
I'm very sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
tone
of
is
course.
not. You would do well to take. You would do well to
take
match your tone.
Yeah.
To take a leaf out of some other undereducated, overly employed person in the Parliament. How are you, Ed? You well?
I should watch my tone, should I, Stuart?
You should watch your tone.
Is that
you
the
should even
level
watch
that
your
we're
tone.
going at?
If you were a woman, you should watch your tone even more. So I'm sorry
That's
that
a bit of a
sorry.
dead
I did
end,
get a bit worried there when you disappeared.
I stepped off to the side so I could eat my biscuit.
All right, your fig roll.
I mean, nobody here wants to, nobody's joined in to watch me go and drop crumbs.
No. And I've noticed that some people have commented that I bothered to put a tie on and a jacket this time.
I know.
You really did outshine me in the wardrobe stakes.
It had to be done.
Event.
It had to be done.
I know.
I'm very sorry.
So we've got a cracking show lined up.
Have we?
I absolutely do believe so.
Well, I didn't plan that.
What you drinking tonight?
I am on my 12-year-old bottle of sherry cask Tamnavulin. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, there he is. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, raise a glass to everyone before we kick off.
Yeah, cheers, everybody.
Slange.
It's fantastic to see you all. Thank you, everybody, for joining in tonight. It's wonderful to have you here.
We thought as well that it would be a good opportunity to parody some of the stuff going on across the UK at the moment. Obviously, we have a political a group of individuals, egomaniacs, who can't track, trace, or pretty much follow anything at the moment. So we thought perhaps what they should do is adopt a handover style for the actual meetings, didn't we, Ed?
All right, you can be matron, I'll be sister.
Okay, well, I've got a clipboard.
You actually have.
I actually do have a clipboard.
Mm.
It's got a wee thing to hold the pen. Look, you see? So what we thought was
this is back
we
to
could
the
give them
80s,
some advice. Yeah, well, I think so. What we thought we could do is we could give them some advice on the daily brief, and if they actually undertook it in such a way that it was more like a handover, I feel that the information would be much more succinct. It would be much more relevant, and people would actually understand what they were saying. So for the non-RMNs in the room this evening, you'll have to follow us because we don't have lots of 3-letter acronyms for treatments and IVs and stuff like that. we just have a much more person-centred way. Now, for a moment, immerse yourself in the world of inpatient mental health services, and we'll talk about two patients. As Ed says, I'll be matron. Ed, who will you be, senior charge nurse?
Yep. Mr. Sister.
And as we walk through the corridor, in your mind's eye, try a bit of mindfulness. In your mind, as you walk through the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, you're being recorded. You might as well shut your eyes and...
both these wards are to the right, as they would be, and one further right than the other. Westminster ward is the first ward you'll arrive at, followed by Washington
distinctly on
ward,
the right, and then Washington ward is much further to the right.
Yes, it's close to the NRA. So we have the situation where we have a Mr. Johnston who's just come back from the acute hospital.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So the report I have is that he's returned from the acute hospital where he claims to have been treated for COVID-19. It's difficult to understand. It's inconclusive at this time as to whether or not he's been treated for that. So at first we thought perhaps he was a bit delusional, didn't show any signs of sepsis though, or any physical manifestations of that. As the days worn on, he's been seen to be confabulating. He's gesticulating wildly and drawing small groups into corners.
Okay. Still poorly kempt, is he?
Yeah, he's pretty poorly unkempt, Ed.
Okay.
Although I did speak to his dad today, who advises me he's been like that pretty much his whole life anyway.
Okay.
So it's nothing new that we should worry about. It's not the emergence of a new symptom. He's very much as a small boy needed quite a bit of assistance in adulthood. Some of his peers have reported that he's tried to get them to join them in a coup, saying that if we can get rid of the leader, I'm wondering if that's you, then he can unite the party successfully and overthrow the current administration.
Okay.
Says it's his destiny, and that was why his education was paid for, that he's entitled to that.
Okay. He's still having those ideas of reference about Churchillian principles.
Yeah, he really does feel that at times that he hears the voice of Churchill. We should suggest that he should remain restricted on the ward until further notice. How do you feel about that?
I think that's probably a good idea. I think, as far as I remember the history, is he's managed to gather a group around him. They formed quite a tight clique. They call themselves the Brexity clique, and they've really sort of taken power and have excluded any sort of thoughts that don't comply with their very set internal rules. So I think there's quite a toxic environment that's really interrupting the therapeutic milieu.
Yeah, I would suggest that if his behaviours don't change, that we might have to isolate him.
Mm-hmm. That's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. So, and how about your patient today?
Well, I've spent most of the day, as you know, on Washington ward dealing with Donald, and I will say his behaviour is just seeming to get more and more erratic. We've got a lot of flight of ideas, very disordered word salad going on. He's been argumentative with the nurses. He's been argumentative with the medical staff as well. He seems to have some very unusual ideas of how his symptoms should be treated. In particular, I gather he tried to insert a light bulb up his rectum the other day.
I'd heard he tried to put a light bulb up his rectum. Yeah,
he's also
and we had to get the electricians down.
We did, and he's also been speaking about injecting disinfectant into his veins to cure the symptoms. So it's quite bizarre.
Was that the chap who stole the sanitizer from the cleaner on the ward?
I rather think he may have drunk the lot of it, and some Kool-Aid to boot as well.
Okay, so what's the plan with him?
I think what we need to do is build a wall and just contain him.
Build a wall.
Okay. Build a wall. Well, well, if we can get a company to come out of furlough, we'll build whatever we need. So I'm hoping that Matt, because we know Matt's a fan of the show, we give quite over a lot of detail, would think that perhaps if he took a handover approach, that we could get a bit more information and detail it to the general public, other than telling us how many people have not used the tube. And
now hang on a second, Stuart. Are we doing a bit of a daily briefing right now? Because if we're going to talk about the news, I'm having a lectern.
Right, I'll be one of. I'll question you. Right, I'll be. Right, you ask me. Right, I'll be Stuart McKenzie.
So
from
Stuart, you have a question there.
Um, um, Mr. Hancock, have you given any consideration to the physical health and well-being of nurses who are currently treating the patients with COVID-19 and what that might look like in the future?
Yes, there's an app for it. Next question, please.
And how does that app work?
Well, there's an app that tells you how to use the app. Okay, it's only available on the Isle of Wight, though.
All right. And if you're on the Isle of Wight and you're using the app, can I go out?
Only on the Isle of Wight, but virtually within an app.
All right. So going back to my original question, which was about the health and well-being of nurses post-COVID, do you have any plans to give a shit?
I think I'll pass that question on to my invisible friend here. Okay, so I think that sums up everything. Thank you very much for joining us at today's briefing. And, stay whatever and continue to vote Tory, please. Thank you.
Oh. I can't believe you built a fucking lectern. I thought you were joking when you said you were going to do that.
I can't believe that you can't believe that I built a lectern. Have we met?
Oh, dear Lord.
That was sellotaped to my laptop for the whole afternoon. Which is, oddly enough, not the first time I've used that sentence.
So there is a serious point in there, isn't there? We've seen that Steve Ford, who'd already done an interview for us earlier in the life of RMN behaving badly.
Steve Ford, the editor of Nursing Times. Yeah.
Nursing Times, good guy. Very much on the side of what we're trying to do. Asked a very sincere question of Matt Hancock, which was, how are we going to look after the mental health and well-being of nurses in post-COVID world? And he was delighted to tell us that they'd already very quickly rushed through policies and procedures to make sure nurses and doctors and all key workers were provisioned for in terms of their mental health and well-being. Mm-hmm. I don't know if any of you guys who are on here tonight could tell us in your area, do you know what provision out with the rooms? We'll not call them what we don't want to call them. Do you know what provision has been made for by the government for you? Do you know what you can expect to be available to you? There are higher instances of nurses now reporting mental and psychological problems. There has been a bit of an outpouring in the last couple of weeks of nurses describing some of their own mental challenges, their mental health challenges. I'm a bit worried when a senior cabinet secretary and the Minister for Health says that he thinks it's already being dealt with.
Nope, nobody knows what's going on then. That's fine.
No, it's alarming. We've launched an app. We've launched track, trace, release, whatever it is. And
isn't that what you do with zombies? I'm pretty sure that was the plot of 28 Days
I
Later.
thought it's what the Tories did with foxes. I think they've taken fox hunting and applied the principles of chasing a fox.
If we're not allowed to chase fox anymore, we're certainly going to chase poor, ill people.
Oh, dear. With land reform on the horizon, who knows where that could lead.
Happy days.
We've got two top-class comedians lined up for ourselves tonight, for our listeners. And before we go into that, what else is new with us, Ed? What else have we been up to?
What else have we been up to? Well, I've got to say, this is an absolutely outstanding turnout tonight, and we're really thrilled that everybody has joined us. And to get serious for a moment, it is absolutely wonderful. It's really humbling that when you and I started this podcast in December, we thought maybe 2 or 3 people will listen. And lo and behold, we've got people subscribing to you and I having such ridiculous ranting conversations as we do. We're absolutely delighted to be putting on another live show and to be bringing some comedians out to you. One of the things that we wanted to share about today was because obviously hosting a podcast and making sure that's all online and being able to have the technology to have the conversations, because we're several hundred miles apart, it's got a bit of a cost to it. And but we've always wanted to make sure that this podcast was going to be free for people. We wanted it to be something that people could access without having to go behind the paywall. But just in order to offset some of those costs, one of the things that we've launched in the last couple of days is a Patreon for the website and for the podcast, sorry. And Patreon is a way that people can support a podcast by giving a few quid a month, which would really, really help us, because putting on an event like this is actually costing us a ton of money, which we don't mind doing because we want something free out there. But if folk wanted to join in, chip in a few quid, it would not only enable us to reach more of our colleagues, and it would enable us to continue having live gigs like this, but it would also allow us to, when we've got some cash, to pay some of the acts that are coming on, because they're giving their time for absolutely nothing tonight, which I think is a wonderful thing. But if we can get some folk signed up to this, then we can show our appreciation for the acts that are coming on and get them a wee something. So if you want to find out more, head on to patreon.com/RMN Behaving Badly. And there's details on there. We've got 3 tiers of membership, and the link will be going up on the website. It's if you go onto our website just now, it's across the top there. So our website's rmnbehavingbadly.co.uk, and it's just at the top. I'll type the link into the text box, but Stuart, you're going to have to speak for a second because I can't talk and type at the same time.
I can't imagine how I'll manage to speak for a few seconds whilst you type. I think that the nice part about this is that what we're trying to do is make sure that it's inclusive. We don't want to exclude. We want to actively be able to engage the widest possible population. And John Scott gave his time on the last gig. And when we started to go forward with this gig, we really felt that would now be the appropriate way to go. And it's really nice in Patreon because it's totally transparent. Anybody who's putting into it will see exactly what's there, and then we'll tell all the listeners through the pod what we're using that money for.
Because we're not doing this for the money. You know, we're not going into this going, hey, Stuart and I can have a little earner here. Because you know, we don't need any more money. We're both nurses. We are loaded. We don't know what to do.
I don't know about you. I don't know about you. I mean, I'm keeping it in my mattress.
I've had it made into stacks of 20s and made it into sofas. That's what we do.
You know what? If I turn this camera around, I'm using it for kindling in the fireplace there.
I've got so much of it. I use it to kindle the kindling. It's ridiculous.
See when I got my last increment,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I genuinely, my bank manager phoned me
and he was like, I think you own the bank now. Was that your 29%? Your 29% pay rise, was it, Stuart?
Yeah.
Can tell by the suits, definitely. This is my one and only suit, and I got it from Marks and Spencer.
It's what we refer to in Glasgow as your court suit.
Yeah. What you can't see is I couldn't afford the second half of the suit, so I'm completely starkers from the waist down. You didn't need that information, did you?
Fig rolls in the buff. Okay. So there
and
we are.
There's the tone that we were looking for tonight.
That's the tone. So we've hijacked 2 fabulous comedians, both of whom we have a great history with, putting on comedy events, and have been super supportive of what we're trying to do. I think what would be useful for us all now is, given that we're almost on time, Ed, we're almost running out of time.
Oh, in that case, I better start waffling.
I think we'd probably better to move. BJ's on here again. She'll know about my fabulous time-bending skills as chair of Congress. And, there's no red and green lights, so trying to stick to time. I think what we'd like to do now is kind of move on.
Red insulating tape. Is that in use?
What's that for?
It was the tape I used to hold my little lectern onto the laptop.
Oh, I've got a shovel and
is it just a bit pathetic that I've got
that we could use to wrap a body in with that type of tape.
All right, now I'm concerned.
To do is move on to the comedy, and the plan will be we'll have some laughs with Susan. We'll monitor what's coming in the chat. We'll have a little bit in between Susan and Susie, and then after that, we'll be able to start thinking about some questions. I'm seeing loads of stuff coming in as well about the Patreon stuff as well, and it's not just any suit; it's an M&S suit. Says Paula. Andy Bassett Scott wants a T-shirt. So while Susan's playing, we'll just go and screen print some T-shirts.
What?
Yeah, have you not got a screen printer?
No.
I make so much money. I've got this stuff in the garage.
Oh, I've just got a man that does that for me.
All right, okay. Well, I've obviously not reached that level.
Yeah.
So the first comedian on with us this evening is Susan Morrison. Susan is an absolute gem and has been doing comedy nights to support mental health nurses, nursing the stuff that I've done through various organisations over the years, and has just simply introduced us to some amazing acts and compared for us. She totally gets the trade union cause. Keep her away from the subject of Titanic. It's something dear to her heart. We thought
or
about
the ship or both.
Probably both. 35 minutes ago, it didn't look like she was joining us, and there was a bit of a panic. And Susie McCabe thought she was doing a double slot.
Well, we were thinking of having you text your set over, and Stuart could have just read it out.
I could imagine what he would be able to do with that. That would be frightening. Although, of course, you would have to take your fig roll out your dome for a second.
I don't think anybody...
I'm kidding. I've got a fig roll. This is what I'm having in the break.
But do you know what the thing is, Susan?
So, wait a minute. Hold on a second. So I'm getting introduced by effervescent stew and masticating Ed, right?
Yeah.
Is that basically what's happening here?
Can we just be clear that was masticating?
Masticating.
Put your hands up, quick. Put your hands up. What I wanted to say is that Ed is Scottish, just to be clear.
Really? Is he one of these Scottish people that owns Caithness?
No.
Along with my pals Crawford and Robert, yes.
I see. Hunting some peons in the afternoon. Rather a good laugh.
Yes.
What I like to do is mount up on the gardener.
And that's why we picked comedian for the night, yeah.
So
you realise you're giving this bit for free. You haven't even been introduced yet, Susan.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Hi, everyone. Apparently, I've just admitted to mounting up my gardener. So there we go.
We've all been there.
Makes a change from having the marmoset stuffed and mounted, but there we go. Sorry, Ed, you were saying something.
I have no idea. I think Stuart was saying something and I was interrupting.
I was just going to say that he's the only Scotsman I know that eats fig rolls.
Nothing wrong with a fig roll. They keep you regular. Everyone knows that. Sorry, Ed. We just
on that note.
So we'll now pass you over to the comedy legend that is Susan Morrison, folks, before she humps her gardener.
Yeah. At the end of this, folks, I'm going to unmute you all, show your appreciation for Susan when she's finished her set. But for now, here's Susan Morrison for you.
Just wave. Just everybody wave at me from wherever you are. That would be lovely just to see everybody. And we'll let the boys go. You can... social distancing is a good thing for Ed because the mere spray of fig roll crumbs was going off in all directions. I could practically hear the cat squealing in the background. Look at that, he's at it again. Thereby proving he doesn't have false teeth, because there'd be nothing worse than getting a fig roll seed under your plate. I'm sure we'll all agree. It's great to, gosh, look at you all. You're all looking brilliant. Can I just say, first of all, this is the first gig I've ever done in my slippers. That's a first for me. So, and it's quite comfy. I might take to do it permanently. And also, it's the first one that I've been able to look at that and drink at the same time. Cheers, everyone. We're all drinking. I take it. Yeah. Of course you're all drinking. You're nurses. I remember your Congress nights. So what I thought I'd do you not mind? Because I miss you all, because it was going to be, we're all going to get together in Liverpool this year, and it was going to be great. We're going to have great fun. So I was going to go, because I've been joining you for a couple of years. So what I thought I'd do is I would go through my favourite Royal College of Nurses Congresses nights, not in any particular order, but on the nights that I recall joining you, and the highlights of those occasions. The first time I joined you, you were in Harrogate. Harrogate, the only place in Yorkshire posh enough to have its own H, everywhere else. It's the very first time I'd seen you guys in action. earlier on that day at the train station in Harrogate, I was mistaken for Kevin Bridges' mother. The man at the station said, "Have you ever seen Kevin Bridges going up and asking?" Have you ever seen Kevin Bridges going up and asking an Englishman for directions? It's a truly terrifying sight. And he went up, said Kevin, and said, "Do you know the way to the Waitswood Hotel?" In that manner. And the Englishman panicked and waved in the hotel's direction. And I'm behind Kevin with my wee suitcase. And he said to Kevin, "You can go down that hill, son, and you cross the road. Now, do watch out, though. That's quite a bit. And your mother doesn't look very steady." Thank you. Thank you. Kevin Bridges. What happened to him? Eh? Later on that afternoon, I was mistaken for Susan Calman. So as you can see, it was all going incredibly well. Then you were in the White Swan, as I recall. And it's yes, that's right. It's quite posh. I don't know if you noticed that. I know you lot didn't notice by the time you were finished. It was like Genghis Khan had found out how to drink cocktails. It was carnage, and rather delightfully so. I found a small blonde woman behind a shrubbery. She informed me, drunk her own body weight in Chardonnay, but she won the liver team in Glasgow, so she knew what she was doing. Now, I appreciate that level of professionalism. There were 3 nurses trapped in the revolving door, and I managed to get one out, and every time I managed to get one of the buggers out, another one got in. I've got no idea where the 4th one came from, but that's when I realised that nurses travel in packs. So that was Harrogate, and very much to be enjoyed. A few years after that, I joined you in Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth is about the most English place in England. If Bournemouth could actually have its own Brexit, it would just to split itself off, right? That is the very first time, my comrades, I ever saw a Twitter storm, because I was travelling with a young comedian called Mark Nelson. Whatever happened to him? Now, the last thing I said to Mark once the gig was over was, "Mark," I said, and I did say it to him in a very careful manner, and a matronly way. I could even have been his mother. I said, "Mark, don't go drinking with the nurses. Whatever you do, say thank you, say good night, and get to your bed, son." The next day, there was a Twitter storm, which basically had the hashtag "Who broke Mark Nelson?" Because I found what was left of him on Bournemouth Pier. Seriously considering whether or not he could swim to France or just float because he had so much alcohol in his system. I got him on the plane and it was downright terrifying. I do not know what you guys had fed him for breakfast, but see if he kept farting like that, we would have come down from 31,000 feet in no time at all when that whole plane turned inside out. That was Bournemouth. And the other thing I remember about Bournemouth was we wound up in a small, who was I with? I may remember University of Stirling, Stuart. In theory, we were in a wee, shall we call it a convenience store. There were 6 Scottish nurses attempting to explain to the owner of the convenience store what iron brew was, and it wasn't going well at all. So as far as Bournemouth was concerned, Scottish nurses may be caring, but with a slightly frightening edge. After Bournemouth, well, there was another Harrogate one, but this was one of my favourites, and this was Liverpool. Now, Liverpool was splendid because you took over a whole theatre, the Epstein Theatre. Now, I don't know if any of you saw who actually runs the Epstein Theatre. I know Stuart met them, but I'm not sure if they were twins or whatever they were, but they were fabulous Scouse gals with everything fake tits, fake nails, fake hair, fake tan, fake teeth, you name it. Tracy and Stinky. After the first section, you lot hit the bar like it was like watching Godzilla go through a paper toilet roll. Tsunami of nurses. After the interval, Tracy or Stacey, never quite worked out which one, they were both wearing rubber dresses. Every time they walked along, they squeaked. It's a bit alarming. She came up to me and she said, "How long does your second section last?" And I went, "Well, I'm on for 10 minutes and I've got Lost Voice. Remember his Lost Voice guy that we were in this? Whatever happened to him? Good God, RCN, Talent Spotters or what?" I said, "He'll be on for 10 minutes and then we've got just wondering if you could make it last a little bit longer. It's just that the nurses have drunk the bar dry and we sent cousin Ines up to Asda for more vodka. And this, whilst I was on stage, remember there was a curtain at the back. There was a wee lift at the back of that. See, whilst you were all sitting in front of me, howling, like Lost Boy Scout. All I could hear was cousin Ines coming upstairs with the bucket. And they had to get beer from the bar on the ground floor. Thank you. Somebody is backing me up there. This is true. Tracy and Stacey were standing there and they said, I hope you don't mind. It's just me taking around Mally who out from behind the bar. Because if they knew about that, they'd drink that as well. And I said, look, love, if you've got, seriously, if you've got Duraglit in here, get it out from behind that bar because I thought I'll have that and all. So that, ladies and gentlemen, Royal College of Nurses, RCN, you drank a bar dry. Like for you guys. So, Ali Upton, whoever you were, if you were on the vodka, you were the one that finished it. Just make sure it was the Duraglit, otherwise you'll be able to see straight in the morning. It's a joy. I wish I was there. I wish I was with you. I can't tell you how much I miss you. I don't know if any of you know about this, but I've actually fell into the hands of the NHS lately. First of all, I had to get my tits taken off. I mean, medically. I didn't just suddenly wake up one morning and think, fuck it, there's a Stanley knife. I'll have a go myself. That last brand didn't fit very well. What happened was they found a bit of breast cancer here. So now, and so they said, they said, we'll take it off. And I said, that's fine. I said, take them both off. For those of you that don't remember, I was, you know, shall we say, right? Thank you, BJ, big woman, right? That's why my pole dancing career was shite, because it took 2 hours for my tits to catch up, right? I'd swing around for ages and them tits would be flying around, you know, all terrible. And then you would get concussion with the nipples in the back of your head, like absolute nightmare. Anyhow, so anyway, I says, take the bait off. Well, you have no idea what happened then. Next thing you know, absolute pandemonium. You can't do that. You can't do that. And they said, get this, wait to get this. I love this bit. They said, don't worry, we'll reconstruct it. Right. So this meant this one, right? That one would have been your B. Aye, that one, Becky Hoskins. I'm looking at you with your mouth hanging open. You can tell exactly what you're thinking. This one, darling, would have been a wee perky porn star, nipple pointing in the right direction, titty, right? And on this side, I've got Nelly, that fucking elephant, flying free in the breeze, like swinging around, looking for its pal, slapping around down there, thinking, the fuck has happened, right? And he said, oh, you can get bra. What kind of a bra would you get to fit? What is this? What would that be? What would that be? A bra like that? No, I'd look like a Dalek. Think about it. You just get this one tit flying out like this, right? So I says, no, take them. And then there's, you can't. Oh, I thought we could reconstruct it to. We can reconstruct this to match. I said, get real, you mad man, you consulted person whose name is Ian, but I'm not supposed to know that because you won't tell me that because your name's supposed to be Mr. Young. But if I call you Ian, you blink all the time. Have you noticed that? Male consultants, they never give you your first name. Have you noticed that? And if you find it out, they blink, they go, like you're not supposed to know. I said, there's no way you could reconstruct the right tit to look like the left tit because 50 years, a couple of bad bras and 2 children have made sure that this is beyond the ken of mankind ever to reconstruct, so forget about it. So they wouldn't let it. So eventually what happened was, and you'll love this, in order to ensure that I could have match, just symmetry, right? I was supposed to go and see a psychologist, right? So I was going to get referred to a psychologist. I said, I'm not going to see a psychologist. If I go to see a psychologist, I'll be in a room for 5 minutes, right? And she'll be calling for a straitjacket into Mazepam. I'm not having that, right? The minute I get seen like that, I'm going to get slaughtered. So I didn't go. So they started phoning me. Have you met? Of course you have, psychologists. For some reason, the ones here in Edinburgh all called Lauren and Holly and Barbara and Sandy. And they all kept, it was like I was getting hounded by a pack of psychologists. And then one of them got a hold of me on the phone. I answered the phone by accident. I thought it was a PPI call, you know what I'm saying? And I picked it up and it was Lauren. She was on the phone. She was on the phone. Even though she was on the phone, I knew her head was at a 45-degree angle. Lauren, I'm just phoning you because I'm a psychologist. I'm just checking to see if you've got any coping strategies. Coping strategies. And I said, how old are you? And she said, 27. And I said, right hen. Stop right there. I said, right hen, coping strategies. I said, look, see when you're my age, right? And see when you've been through birth, marriage, childbirth, bereavement, getting fired 4 times for 5 different jobs, and a bad review in the Scotsman. You come back and you tell me about coping strategies then, right? And the 9 times, just bugger off. So she went, oh, all right then. And then she said, are you crying? I think she was living in terror in case all she suddenly heard was, no, I'm right outside the door, Lauren. Hiya. So that was my experience with, however, my experience with the nurses. A couple of things I've learned since being in the clutches of the NHS. 1, never let a junior doctor take your blood sample. Always go and find the nurse. 2, all radiographers are Irish. Don't know why. And they're only this high. They're only about 3 foot high. And I think, and I said to one of them whilst I was getting radiotherapy, is your accent a side effect of radiation? And she said, no, I don't think so. I've always thought like that. And I thought, that's fine. 3, consultants blink when you talk to them. And 4, I like this, but don't ever swear in a chemo ward. I must be the only human being that's ever been thrown out. But I'm telling you, I've been thrown out of better nightclubs than that. I got angry. I was told to not use salty language. Because, you know those strips? You know those stands? Somehow, everything, I got a stand, it was the bastard child of a shopping trolley in Boris Johnson, right? It's flying all over the place. So, and I love this. Session 1 of chemotherapy. Susan, whatever you need to do to get through your chemo, you do it. Mindfulness, relaxation, yoga. But apparently, telling everybody that your drip stand is a total fucking bam does not count as getting to your chemo. So, I wish I was with you all. I think he's amazing. I want a big round of applause to all of you. Me, I'm just the bam with the drip stand that swears a lot, but you are all heroes. Let's hear it for you. Thank you so much for inviting me along this evening. She's back to masticating Ed and effervescence.
Yes, thank you very much. I've finished masticating now, and oh, there you go. You've all had a moment of noise, and now I'm just going to mute everybody again. There you are. Oh, the power. Cheers. Or the partial power.
Just to be clear, the first comedy night that Susan did for us was in 2007 at the Comedy Club in the Stand in Glasgow, and we had no idea what we were doing. And I phoned
a bit
Tom.
like tonight.
Yeah, and it's never changed. What can I say? I've pretty much stumbled through life. See if my wife wasn't actually listening, I have no idea how I've arrived at where the fuck I am. But anyway, so I had no idea what we were doing, and I phoned various people in the comedy industry and said, look, we want to put a comedy night on in Glasgow. Nobody would give us a venue. Told them it was for nurses. We had some internal political issues about whether or not it's okay to laugh and bring our dark humour into the fore. And I got in touch with a few people and eventually ended up getting a hold of Susan Morrison. And I'll never forget the first conversation we had. And she's called me Stewie ever since. And from that time on, she's been an absolute legend. Supported every single comedy night that we've ever done. She's pulled in crowds, she's pulled and wrangled, she's fought with agents, crazy agents for us, who wanted serious money. She has pointed us in the direction of people who have gone on into stardom. But do you know what? See, the folk who've gone on into stardom, I absolutely believe that without people like Susan in the industry supporting them and bringing them on, because what Susan will not tell you is that she's a regular compere in the Stand in Glasgow and Edinburgh, and if you've never been there and you've never seen Susan perform, then you're missing out. And to bring in her own, because she's, I've been following her and tweeting her and texting her and finding out if she's okay. I don't think that anybody will ever go through a double mastectomy again and leave staff quite so quaking in their books about how women can adapt and cope and actually get through things. So I just want to send a personal thanks to Susan, because the comedy nights that we've put off, and indeed been able to reach out to comedians to work with us to do this, we wouldn't have been able to do without Susan. So thank you, Susan. Anyway, we've got another comedian on the line, haven't we?
We have indeed, but I'm just, first of all, before we do that, I'm about to add a polling question to this show, because I've just found out that you can do that. So here we go. based on that, she argues with agents. She argues with difficult people who thinks Susan should conduct the next round of nurses' pay negotiations. There's a multiple choice there, but there's really one
I would
answer.
love to be in that meeting. Could you imagine if they allowed us to negotiate and we take Susan? We'll rock up like this in my shirts, right? And we'll say, right, listen,
And nothing else.
we're just here, with fig rolls, put them out on the table, lay them out really nice.
Oh
glass
God,
of
I'm
malt.
never gonna live this down, am
Right.
I? So
Right,
fucking
you can
biscuit,
start-
people. Come
right,
on.
right, you can start masticating, right? You can do that. Susan will just go, right, before we negotiate, I've had my tits chopped off. Right? There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can say that will make me walk away with it 29%.
Yeah.
Susan Morrison, a legend. Oh, right. So how did that poll go, Ed?
We're at. Oh, this is like being back at Congress when you had digital voting, Stuart. This is. I can
Open
tell
BJ up. Open BJ up, and she'll do something about Twitter.
Yeah, hang on a second.
BJ, quick. Open BJ.
There we go.
BJ, where is she?
She's unmuted.
BJ,
Whether she
do
wants
something.
to be or not. I mean,
Say something, BJ.
the thing is, Stuart, she might want to
I'm
be
just
having
going
a
to
quiet
look. I'm
night.
looking for the vote. I'm looking to see who's cast their vote.
I've missed
Oh,
that
in
so
that
much,
case,
BJ.
Can everybody raise their hands, please, if you voted?
Wait a minute. Where's the point of it? Where's the person at the procedural mic?
That would be
Where's
you,
the-
Stuart.
Where's that bastard who always abstains?
Do you know what? Let's move on before we accidentally name that person.
I know who it is. I've seen all the stats.
Yeah, I know who it is too. The result of the voting with 73 votes in is 97% in favour of Susan running our next round of pay negotiations. Thank you
that's
very
that
much,
done then.
everybody, for voting. That is duly carried, and it's now official podcast policy.
Excellent. I like that we're making policy. This is great.
I know.
So,
it's not going to do
is-
anything, is it?
Well, wait. So are you now comparing this to the opposition?
Moving on, Stuart.
So,
And I think you should watch your tone.
Even me unmute.
Who's unmuting themselves? You don't have the power to that. Yvonne Notman, mute yourself now. Aye, I see you. I might not be chair of Congress anymore, but I miss nothing. Mute.
No, I was just trying to unmute myself and I don't
This
know.
isn't a conversation. I'm on transmit. You're on
muted,
receive.
muted, yeah.
Okay. Sir, podcast, get your own. So,
See, she's mouthing at us now. I'm just going to make up what she's saying.
again. She's eating her dinner as well. Look.
Oh, right. She's allowed dinner. I got grief for having a flipping biscuit.
It was Andy that made it for her. We know he's the chef in that house.
Ah, fair
So,
enough.
Our second comedian of this evening is another absolute stalwart of the comedy circuit. In fact, was really ramping up a bit of pace and momentum in her career, and has got a brand new haircut for you all this evening. Socially distancing done. What was it she said? She's had better haircuts since she went into lockdown. So
Yeah.
we can maybe have a poll on that. The next comic to join us this evening is an absolute, just total dynamo, and has never failed to make people laugh, properly bellyache laugh. So Susie, I hope you're there.
I'm
I
good.
hope you're ready to go.
I'm here.
I'm
Already.
good.
Already.
She's taking the zipper off now. Look, she's got herself ready and
See,
prepared.
people
She's
don't know
pro.
what that means, but yes.
Full
She's
football
pro.
already. Full football already.
Yeah, she's doing football casual. She's away out for a square goal.
Listen, it feels like 1983. The Tories are fucking doing this from all angles and they're in power forever. It feels like 1983, so I'm just going to embrace being a football casual just to fit right in with that time.
Can I say, Susie? I just want to say, having known you for the years that I've known you, to have a conversation with you midweek and then hear you refer to my Auntie Christine as Tina. I'm 44 years of age and I've never heard my Auntie Christine referred to as Tina in my whole life.
Listen, I love her. Love her. Looks after me when I was an apprentice.
So we'll hand over to a proper comedian now, and can we have a quick show of hands and appreciation again for the pros? And over to you, Susie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue. Listen, I hope you're all well. I know it's a fucking dreadful time, to be quite frank, but I've had a few lockdown highlights. I was thinking about this because the other day I put some stuff on social media, so if you're on my socials, you would have seen it. I think one of my lockdown highlights is when I watched Boris, right, and he's like, take it in the chin, go to the pub if you want, maybe have a lockdown, maybe shut the pubs. And then it goes to Nicola Sturgeon, who's just sat there like your mum. And she's just standing there like your mum. And she does that thing that only your mother can do when she talks without actually moving her lips. You know, like when your mum would just take you aside, you'd be at a family party or something, you were messing about, your mum would go, give me your pen, give me your pen. And then you would come in, your mum would go, if you don't fucking rap it, I am going to send you to your bed with a black and blue arse. That's Nicola. That is how Nicola Sturgeon is cheating. That is how she's cheating the country. And we all go, you're quite right, Mum. You're quite right. Because she's like your mum who makes you eat your vegetables, do your homework, go to your bed early, and Boris is your dad that just turns up steaming. You've not seen him for 3 months and he's got a PlayStation and a McDonald's. Hey! Then you get to age 14 and you realise that your dad's just a fucking shambles. That's exactly how British politics is sitting right now. And then you've got Matt Hancock. What about Matt Hancock? The PPE's coming to Turkey. It's not here yet, but it's coming. It's coming tomorrow, right? Tomorrow comes. It'll be here at some point, but it's on its way, right? The following day. We're just going to deliver it ourselves, right? In fact, we're just going to go and send a plane to get it, and then they get it, and then they bring it back, and then it's the wrong stuff. Who the fuck is delivering that PPE? Yodel? Like, just fucking it over your back fence? Like this is our government ordering PPE for their frontline workers going, aye, that'll do. That'll do. As if it's like a home economics apron because you're baking fairy cakes and you're 12. This is how the government is treating us, people. That's been a lockdown highlight for me. I'll tell you, this is a first for me, right? I've not done any online gigs, so this is a first. I'll tell you what else is a first for me today, because essentially this is my stage. I'm having a drink. I'm never drinking stage. Now, I'm not actually a house drinker. Then lockdown happened. I'm steaming all the time, right? All the time. I'll tell you what happened the other night. So about 2 weeks ago, I found a nice bottle. I quite like a malt, right? And I found a nice bottle in the house, and I never drink in the house because I don't enjoy house drinking. I prefer to go to the pub. But obviously, I'm a stand-up, so I normally work Thursday to Sunday, right? Sometimes if I'm doing new material, I'll be out midweek. So I don't really get to go to the pub that often. So if I get to go to the pub, I'm in the pub, right? And it's a session. Now I'm in the house. Found myself saying the other night, it was a Tuesday, I better not have a whiskey, I'll just have a lager because it's a Tuesday. Who even does that, right? Who even says I'm not having a malt whiskey because it's a Tuesday? I've just turned into an absolute Jake. Then, I'll tell you what else has happened, because I noticed this. We were on holiday. We were on an all-inclusive holiday, right? And I feel as if the country's a wee bit divided, and it has been, you know, well, since 2010 when they voted in the Tories, right? But it feels as if the country's quite divided. And I noticed this about the country, because obviously for my job I need to travel around the country. That is very distracting. Every time I look round, it is just your boob in my face. Right? So it's just a boob. I'm like, my girlfriend's in the sofa, behave yourself. So the country's quite divided, and obviously I notice this when I go about, and I get to work all over Brighton, Inverness, London, whatever. And there's a distinct difference in this country, and I will tell you what it is. People think it's independence, people think it's social class. It's not. I'll tell you what it is. I was on an all-inclusive holiday this year, and we were the only Scottish people in the hotel, and there was some Italians and Germans, fine, because you know, you look at the Italians, right, from like 200 feet away, and they could literally be wearing a bag of rags, and you still go, oh, you're absolutely gorgeous, right? Because they're Italian, and that's just the thing. And then there was the Germans, who were lovely. And then there was the Brits, so we had some Manx, some Geordies, some Scousers, Northern Irish, they were fine, we just kept them apart. And then and then we had some Welsh, and everything was fine, and we would all have a drink. And then you had the Southerners, you know, the Southerners, kind of people that eat fig rolls, right? And the thing with the Southerners is, you know they're from the south, and there's a couple of reasons that you know they're from the south, because they have that accent, don't they? All right, mate. All right, mate. Enjoying your holiday, mate. Just arrived, mate. You just arrived. No, mate. I thought I'd pay £2,000 for a holiday and hide for that big bummy ball of fire that's in the sky. I've just arrived. That's why I'm still milk bottle white. I can see them a couple of days later. You can hear them. You can hear them. You can hear that voice. All right, mate. I don't suppose you've seen a little kid. I fucking drowned them. So, another reason that you know they're from the south is this. 28 degrees, it's night time, and they come out with a zipper on because it's a wee bit chilly. It's 28 degrees and I'm Scottish. I'm still putting on factor 50. I'm like, that moon's out. Use that factor 50, right? But here is how you definitely know that they are from the south. I am in an all-inclusive holiday, and they are still ordering half pints. Who orders a half pint? You ever tried to order a half pint in Scotland? It is Ted's. I live in the East End of Glasgow. Hey, if I go to my local pub and order a half pint of lager, I get a colouring book and crayons with that. Nobody is serving you that. It's Ted's, right? See, when the pub's open, I need you to try this. Try it. You walk into that pub and you order a half pint. This is what happens. You go up to that bar and you go, 2 pints of lager, a large vodka and coke, and a half pint of lager. And that bar person will just look at you. So, what was that last one? Well, a half pint of lager. That for you? No. For my mate. Oh? Are they pregnant? Are they on antibiotics? Or for Edinburgh, mate? All right, well, in that case, I better put a cherry and a sparkler in it then. Right, you can't order a half pint. But I've been enjoying the drinking in the house. So cheers if you're having a drink. Cheers. Oh, okay. What would you do for a cold pint? What would you do for a cold drink in a beer garden? I'd probably be up a limb. I'd be up a limb, which is going to happen eventually through the diabetes because of the lockdown, for the amount of cakes that I've been making and the baking. What else has been happening? I've been looking after my mum and dad. So my dad is a type 2 diabetic who's had a quadruple heart bypass. And just before lockdown, he got out of hospital after having a lower left leg amputation. So he's currently in a chair with a prosthetic. So we are currently calling him Ironside. Some laugh. He is not finding it funny, but that music does. And my mum was actually very sick. Not a few years ago now. My mum was really sick, and thankfully the NHS, the wonderful institution that it is, got her through it. And the NHS got her through it, but she nearly took our family to breaking point. I went up one day to see her, and we were going to be having a meeting when we got to the hospital. And we went in, and I was with my girlfriend. And my girlfriend has got the biggest heart you could ever meet. She's a real good Samaritan. And see, when you live with somebody that's a good Samaritan, it's a pain in the arse, quite frankly. And we went in, and I goes up to my mum, and one of the wee nurses takes me aside and said, listen, your mum's through it. We've got her a bed at the Beatson. She's going to go to the Beatson, and she's going to get the second half of her treatment. And that's what we're going to do. And I was like, amazing. And I goes in and I says to my mum, pack your bags, Elma. You're going up the Beatson. Second half, everything's going great. They've got you a bed, let's go. She went, when am I going? I went, tonight. She went, no. I went, no, you need to go tonight. She went, I can't. I said, why? She went, because it's cards tonight. I said, it's what? She went, it's cards. They have a cards night in the ward. Me and the lasses. Right? My mum was the youngest in that ward. My mum is 72, right? Me and the lasses. I said, it's the NHS, no Fred Olsen. You need to pack your bags. You're going up the beats. She went, no. So I'm in, trying to talk to her. I'm getting more and more frustrated. And my girlfriend says, look, I'll talk to your mum. You go and wait outside. And about 5 minutes later, Nicola comes in and goes, she's not leaving. Cards tonight. And my dad walks along the ward and he goes, what's going on? I said, I want to move my mum to the beats, but she'll not go. He went, what do you mean she'll not go? I said, because it's cards. It's cards tonight. They're playing cards. She's not going to the beats because they're playing gin rummy. He went, leave this with me. He walks in. 30 seconds later, he comes out, oh, she's not going. Cards tonight. So the next thing, the big consultant comes down, right? Oh, now, I'm not a lady who enjoys the physical appearance of a man, right? But let me say, I know that'll be a shock to you. I think it might be the hair. So, but let me tell you, he was handsome. He was a handsome man. He was good looking, jet black hair, and a kind of cock accent. And he comes down and he's like, oh, surely, what's going on here, right? And I was like, because that's what happens when a woman hears an Irishman's voice. Right, we just melt. It's like you get kissed in the back of the neck. Right, we just melt. Say, look, I know you've got the bed at the beats, and I know you've done everything, but she's not going because it's cards tonight. Says, leave it with me. Me and your mum have got a really strong bond. At which point, half a leg my dad's like that. Oh, have you? Aye, have you? Aye. Right, so we sit him back down. Consultant comes out a minute later. He goes, she's not going. There's no leave. So the next thing, the big sister comes down, big Mary, and Mary was as Northern Irish as they come, like terrifying. She's about 6'2", quite a kind of big lady, and just kind of spoke like that. And you know that accent that just when they talk, they're staring, just that, they're just going to headbutt you. She goes, what's going on here? I said, it's my mum, Mary. She won't leave, but cards tonight. She went, leave this with me. Mary goes in, pulls the curtain. 30 seconds later, curtain gets done. Mary comes out and goes, that's your mum packing her bags. Good to meet you. All the best. Cheers now. Fucks off. They sign a Mary. Mary's going like Batman. I walk in, I see my mum. What did Big Ian Paisley say? She went, she said if I got up the beats and quick enough, I'll get main room with a telly. Let's go, hen. Let's go. Right? It's true as I'm sitting here that happened. But listen, folks, that's kind of my time just about up. Thanks for having me on. And I know a lot of you aren't frontline workers, and I know a lot of you aren't NHS that are on tonight. I know a lot of you are, and just look after yourself, and thanks for everything that you do. And like, my family wouldn't be here without you. I probably wouldn't be here without you. And just try and keep your chin up, and we'll be back soon. And, I've got a gig at the Kings the 27th of September. A little tiny bit of that is in that show. So if you want to come and hear another 90 minutes, come down the 27th of September, because you know what? We will need a laugh for the 27th of September, because if I see Boris Johnson and that terrible haircut one more time, man, I'm going to smash my telly. Him and Matt Hancock. How can you go from Jeremy Hunt to Matt Hancock and go, oh, do you remember the good old days with Jeremy Hunt? That was some laugh. Anyway, thanks very much. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Susie. An absolute star. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, Susie. Thank you.
I've just muted you again, Stuart. There you go.
Oh.
What a fantastic night. You're mute again, mate. What are you doing? I can see your mouth moving, but
I'm live now.
there you are.
Susie had mentioned about Mrs. Notman and the tit show that was, because I was looking at it, I'm going, that's a really strange camera angle, that.
Let's not pick on people on here, Stuart.
No, I have to say, Yvonne, Susie, if you want to get a room, if you get up the beats and quick enough, there's a telly.
Yeah. That visual gag will work really well on the podcast version. Yeah.
Well, you should have been here.
Yeah.
So Susie, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate it, and I can't stress enough how grateful we are for yourself and Susan giving your time over free tonight as well. So we really do appreciate it, and I think anybody who knows anybody who's in the arts at the moment, it's not a great world. Can you unmute Susie?
Yeah, she's.
Can I just say something? I've got a mate on here, Christian, right? And he's tuned in from West Virginia, right? You might be able to see him, you might not. And his wife, Claire, is in Paisley, and they're both isolated in different parts of the world. And they came in to watch this gig because I was on it tonight in different bits of the world. And you know what?
Oh, that's fabulous.
How good is that? Like, we're all
Folks,
miles away and we can't see people that we love, but we've managed to have a
Oh, thanks, Susie. And thanks, Christian. That's brilliant.
It's wonderful
Thank you
to
for
see you.
joining
Thank you.
us.
Thank you, Susie.
cheers. I'll see you tomorrow. We're sitting socially distanced, obviously.
Listen, I've not seen my wee sister in about 6 weeks, and she's managed to come on here, and she's not even a nut, And then I've got one when it's a nurse and one it's no. So my wee sister Kirsty was she was doing the cleaning, listening to the first one to catch up, just in case there was a connection, like it was Neighbours. She thought it was a theme,
like we had some sort of plan or a spot that was.
Absolutely. Like, I need to listen to the first one just in case something happens in the second one and I can't make sense of it.
Pretty much how my mother treats her shopping list every week. Today, she went to Costco to Stanford 2 hours to go and get a bird seeds and nuts. Not a bird in the house, no, wild birds in the garden because we can't go hungry during all this.
It just shows you the empathy in the west of Scotland, Susie. What can I say?
I'm drinking, mate,
So I was noting through that Judith Ross apparently knows who the nurse in the hedge was that Susan Morrison found. I just seen that. Can Judith, who was it? Judith? Name and shame. Unmute yourself, Judith.
No. There you go. I've done it now. She's going to blurt it out by mistake, but...
It's a couple of the ladies from Clyde Branch.
Clyde Branch.
Okay, that's enough there. Yeah.
I think Judith is right. Because what I omitted to mention was, having rescued one small blonde from behind a shrubbery, I found yet another one in the verbiage further on towards the door. And she was quite happy because she'd managed to get a bottle out, right? This is the White Swan Hotel in Harrogate. It's not the Surrey Heath in Glasgow. One is not supposed to do that sort of thing. But I found myself, and then the next thing I realised, I was basically being drunken nurse monitor, finding you lot and putting you back into. Sit down there. That's my father. I don't care. I'm in the Liberty, and I know where there's an extra one.
The best one was
you lot.
I got asked, so Kevin will know. Like Kevin won't like this. He was going up to perform before he went onto stage, and May McCready came round, and obviously May was one of the acts, and you were was me comparing or were you comparing the first year, Susan? You were comparing, and May was one of the acts.
Like you on that stage if I was
right? No, May was comparing, and I'm standing at the back of the stage, and someone from the hotel came round to me and went, "Sir." And anybody that calls you sir, you're either in court in Glasgow, because nobody in my family calls anybody sir. And I said, can I help you? He went, there's a young man at the bar who says he's part of your party and doesn't have any ID for me to serve him alcohol. and I had to go back round and go to the bar, and Kevin was standing at the bar with a pint going, they'll not let me pay for it, Stuart. He's one of the acts. Can you give him a drink? They wouldn't believe that. that he was 18. Can you imagine the look in their faces when he was live at the Apollo 6 weeks later? And then to go back to Mark Nelson. So I was walking from somebody's just shared their screen with us. Helen's
I
phone.
stopped doing that.
Hi, Helen. That's lovely.
Nice
just
family picture
flicking
there.
through
And there you go.
Excellent. Cheers, Helen. And so I was walking from my hotel to the BIC, the Bournemouth International Conference Centre, the next morning.
Oh,
I
I was there.
Right. I was walking to that, and I met Mark on my way to a sound check for the agenda committee at 7:45 in the morning, and he said to me, he says, "Sure, see if I miss my flight, are you all right to book me another one?" He wondered that he says, "No, I'll be all right, man. I'll be all right. I'll text you when I get to the airport." And then he goes like this. He goes, "I don't know where my phone is."
We got to the airport, and he kind of fell asleep standing up. So I put him against the wall because that seemed the kindest thing to do. And the woman said, "Do you have any, that Bournemouth board, Southampton, hello, have you got any other luggage that you'd like to declare?" And I looked over at Mark and thought, I said, "Well, you might have to carry him on." But I'm not paying for his excess weight.
For those of you who know, he went drinking with Dougie Lockhart.
Oh, big
Is that what
mistake.
happened?
Big mistake.
Right, he went drinking with Eric and Dougie Lockhart, who then left him in the apparently capable clutches of a group of female nurses from the Borders and the west of Scotland. So I'm assuming it was the Clyde ladies again who like to frequent a hedge when they'd had too much. So anyway, that was Mark. Maybe we'll get Mark on. Who knows? And he can tell us. Although I think Mark's probably got some sort of PTSD from that. We could do regression therapy.
I think this format would probably be the worst place to bring him on. Then he's just going to get re-traumatized.
Yeah, I think you tried to break Lost Boys guy as well.
Well, he had and Lee won't mind you telling. Lee won't mind me telling you this story. So,
well, what actually happened was less than 10 minutes before we were due to go on, the backstage area of this old theatre had no aircon or anything. It was very old. It was very, very. As you don't know, Lost Boys guy, with cerebral palsy, he can't regulate his body temperature very well, and he had a seizure. And I went out. Now, remember, this is the first interval where you guys have basically ripped your way through that bar, like Godzilla with post-menstrual tension, right? And he clapped, and I said, like, I walked out and said, "Oh my gosh, is there a doctor? Is there a doctor in the house? How I got out of that room alive, I have no idea." I was like, "One of them, for fuck's sake, what are you doing?" Four nurses stepped forward immediately. What's the problem? And how you do this? This is a trick you nurses have got. The drunk dropped. What's the problem? Straight back and looked after Lost Boys guy, looked after Lee. It was amazing. The speed that would got Lee back up on his feet. They said, yeah, he could go on stage. That was fine. They said to me, "You'll need to stand behind him in the curtain." So the whole time Lee's on stage, I'm behind him in the curtain, just in case he doesn't fall over. The minute Lost Boys got back up, they checked him out. He was grand. He was great. How do you do this? Drunk, re-emerged. It's like a superpower. It's like, sober? Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Super. How you doing? Fantastic. Ha! I'm a Viking, cold Thor. Let's go get pissed and burn York. That's what you do. That is what you do. I've watched you doing it.
Talking about that, Billy Drysdale's on. So we'd been out drinking, me and I think Jeff Errol and a few of us had been out drinking. We were in Harrogate. Billy, do you remember? This is
the list of people that are going to get referred.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you remember we'd been out drinking and we came across an RTC at the top of the hill, the brow of the hill, and an Audi BJ's, right? So we're coming up. The only nurse who actually knew what they were doing was BJ, right? But she's that small. We ran, right? So the mental health nurse arrives first at the RTC and goes, well, it's me, I'm here first, but really I've got no fucking idea what happens from this point on. Here's
I can
my
help
card
you
if
relate to the experience.
I mean, I'm wondering how you're going to cope with this, and we can have a chat about it, right? So the car's idling, and I switch the engine off, and there's petrol pushing it. Then Billy arrives, and I think, well, that's good. He'll be able to pull the door off. Right? Michael Brown, who was still smoking at the time, is having an asthmatic attack about 30 yards behind. And we get up to the car, and we're pulling away, and then BJ arrives, and it was just an absolute as BJ goes into absolute nurse mode, and we're all just standing about, and all I could say is, are we doing this then? And let's move the car off the road. So we pushed the car off the road right outside the hotel where that woman wrote all the detective novels. And
Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie.
But,
And,
no, Agatha, not Arthur.
Arthur, her. But the best was watching Billy Drysdale literally pull an entire seat out of an Audi A1 right, whilst protecting the lumbar region of someone who'd been in a road traffic accident. And I thought, this is completely inspiring, because if you were going to have a road traffic accident just now, you may as well have it in the middle of RCN Congress.
You see? That's what I was saying.
I think we've been to enough congresses that have been actual sort of train wreck car accidents.
So if we got, I did say, did anybody think there was a poll that we should run after Susan's?
Yeah.
That was.
I'm about to launch another one right now. Here you go.
There we go.
Is your hairstyle better since lockdown?
100%.
I am a hideous troll.
Well, it's good you have insight, Stuart. Oh, look at that. I
Yeah.
can just see the numbers. Can you guys see it or what?
What I can do is this. Watch what I can do now. Watch.
Oh my goodness, it's Thing.
It's Cousin It
Yeah.
from the Addams Family.
Oh, Cousin It,
Okay.
sorry, not Thing.
Like,
Look at that. That's a pretty close result there. We got 55 votes in there. And it's a 52-48 split. Look at that. So that's an overwhelming victory for the yes, I'm rocking the natural earth goddess look on that poll.
The natural earth goddess look.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
That's what I'm doing, mate. That's...
You're an earth goddess, and you're rocking it.
It's all the fig rolls. It's
you're rocking something, China White. So I have to say, having a look through, we've got some here that people are asking. I'm sober in the day, sometimes sober in the early evening. You, Jackson. Oh, right, you're with someone. Ah, right. It's going to put easy. Is this you saying that you're just sometimes sober?
Yes.
I don't know what he's doing now. He's gone all frozen. Don't take a
No,
selfie. I know the younger
that's just-
generation.
Yeah. It's all right. We're going to be trending soon. Don't worry.
Trending. I don't think I've ever been in trend. We're likely never to trend, Ed. Come on, give us your. If we trend, we'll become famous. And then who knows what will happen? HRMC will be chasing us.
Yeah. Fat chance.
I tell you what, mate, they won't chase you, but they will not give you fucking hee-haw during the pandemic. Let me tell you.
Absolutely. I've was following you on Twitter, Susie, and I'm somewhat aghast at the fact that it's like a game. It's like Jenga, isn't it? It sounds like Jenga. Like you pull a wee block out and they go, see, we were wobbling there. But then we found out that your dad had tap rate DLA, so that's an extra £30 a week for attendance allowance, so we can't give you hee-haw, right? You get nothing.
You know, the worst of it is when you phone HMRC and DWP and they speak to you like you're physically trying to take the money out of their family's hands, and you're like, mate.
But is their family's hands, Susie, because it's all Tories? Right. You only get a job now. Look, they just made a woman in charge of track, trace, and whatever else the hell it is in the app. The woman who put an entire 3G network down the tubes with a data breach.
Yeah.
See the app.
Right.
Here we go.
Right. So let's be absolutely clear. Unless you're in the club, you're not getting anything just now.
Yeah.
It is a lot what he's into. I'm expecting folk to, like sheriff's officers, to come round the door.
I'm expecting Aberdeen to win a league at some point. Now.
No, wait a minute. The new firm are back. Dundee United and Aberdeen.
Aberdeen are going to win something the day that we get a decent pay rise. So, one of the other questions somebody's asked, in fact, a couple of people have asked in the chat, is can we have a choice between Jeremy Hunt or Matt Hancock? Which one would we choose? So I'm going to launch some polling. And do you know what? This gives us a chance to use again, Stuart.
Play it.
Here's the poll. Answer before the song's done. Oh, man, hang on.
Wait, don't answer. Go.
I was just saying the other day, right? I was just saying the other day. I grew up, I was born in 1980.
Or typhoid.
I grew up all the way through the 80s. And I was saying how, see, even historically looking back at Thatcher's governments, at no point, I might not have agreed with the policies and all that, but at no point have I ever looked at a government like I do today and went, how fucking incompetent are all of them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing. Like, you might not have liked Nigel Lawson, but he could have done his job. You might not have liked Geoffrey Howe, but he could have.
Susie, I agree with you. See that Thatcher government, right? The thing was, they had a plan, and they knew what the hell they were doing, right? And they executed it. And execute was the word.
Which, by
I remember.
You could leverage that at David Cameron's government. Do you know what I mean? And Theresa, like.
So austerity was a plan. There was a map. There was a philosophy. There was a view. They knew exactly what they were doing. Only thing that makes me happy, I've said it before, is all that money they saved under austerity they're having to spend now, right? So that makes me slightly happy.
You know, I actually said the other day that the money that they've denied the NHS over like consecutive governments over the past 20 years, if they had just put that money in, we
might have been a bit better off. And you know, Ed and I have actively tried to stop talking, not wanted to talk about the numbers in terms of death toll, because I think we all hear that, fair enough. And every single person, they say it, and when they say it, there's a life behind it. But as a nurse, I can actually say it, and I know that my colleagues will know there is a life behind all of that, and I absolutely get that. And it's not wasted in me that there's a life behind every single one of the people. And it hurts me to the core every time I read a tweet or I read about somebody dying on their own, or a family member not able to get to a family member. These bastards don't care, right? Let's be absolutely clear. In their own way, they think they care, but they don't care. I remember standing at the bottom of a set of high-rise flats in the 80s. I've never been so proud of my grandfather when the sheriff's officers came round to the high-rise flats in the Gorbals, and they appeared 10-man handed, and all the men went to the bottom of the stairs and basically said, "You're not coming in here." And that was democracy.
Yeah.
Because what they said was, we're really clear here. You think you've got the legal right to come in here, but we believe we've got the moral right to prevent you from coming in here.
So I was having a kind of discussion the other day about how everyone's going, oh yeah, it's going to change the way people work and the way people live, and people are going to be able to work from home. And I was like, that's wonderful. And see, from a female perspective, that's great in the sense of if you have a baby and a small child and you don't want to be at your work 9 to 5 days a week. I get it, right? And companies can utilise staffing levels and stuff. I said, but what you're also doing is you're taking away that core of a workforce, and you just then become an individual who's working. If you are 100 employees in an office every day, you're 100 employees in an office. If you're 20 and 2 days a week, and the rest of the time you work from home, it's then individual responsibility. So the power of the collective is actually gone. And
it's the same principle, Susie and Ed. I mean, we've had this chat as well about the dilution of trade unions, of the dilution of our power as a workforce. And see, when all this is over, and again, another thing we've stayed away from, at the end of all this, there's certain aspects of our terms and conditions that we'll absolutely want to talk about. Let's be absolutely clear. You can throw as many medals as you want, but I know what I wanted to, and for people at that lower end. But the reality of the matter is, for the individuals who are in charge, they just want to get through this. It's just absolute rhetoric and hyperbole. They just want to get through this.
Well, none of it is about achieving anything other than I'm going to be in this office for a while. I'm going to do a bunch of favors for people who've chucked a bunch of money our way to get us elected. And once we're eventually kicked out, because they know they are going to get booted out, once they're gone, they're all going to walk straight into directorships, consultancy roles with all of these companies. And they will be equally ineffectual there. But they are somehow holding the levers of power. They are somehow able to control the narrative, and they are somehow able to get people on side and supporting them.
They won't be as ineffectual in business
Mm-hmm.
as they will be on bonus-related pay.
Mm.
Oh, interesting debate there, Susie McCabe.
They won't
So
be
we should only pay our politicians on the basis of outcome.
well,
Key performance indicators and what you get elected on. I like it.
the rest of us, well, I don't, right, but let me just say, if I keep going into comedy rooms and nobody laughs and nobody claps, it will become quite apparent that my
Susie, but we all, right, so I'm looking around here and I see loads and loads of nurses and doctors and social workers, and there's loads of people here that I know or that I've met, or right, we all work, whether it's in a properly constructed performance-related way, but the health service since the 80s has been driven by target, by productivity. They've dressed it up as quality now. Absolutely nobody's going to argue. Quality and consistency should be at the heart of everybody's care. Safety should drive that.
Yeah, but that's only fair if you're on a fair trade field.
Right.
Quality by your funding and what.
Absolutely. But if you're not providing quality, you're getting hee-haw. And if you're in mental health services or LD services, where it's really difficult to measure what you do, because do you know what? Folk with LD, folk with intellectual disability, they don't get better, Susie. It's a fucking nightmare. Do you know what I mean? See folk who've got schizophrenia, that's terrible. We've got to give them medicine for the rest of their life. That's the bit about this. They can't make.
They must be able to pack a shelf in a supermarket.
Right. But this is the lowest common denominator. This is driving the system, and at the risk of ending everything on a really heavy note, we all know this. We can't be the only. I don't know how many folk are left on here too. No, right. We can't. Be,
no, there's definitely at least 3.
Right. We can't be the only people who know this, and that's why, see, when we get to the other end of this, we need to be ready as a kind of group of citizens, and we need to pull together.
See, when I used to work as an estimator, see if I sat in a presentation over a multi-million-pound contract and went 300 and fumbly dumbly Galemba, I would have got sacked. I would have got sacked. See if I was sitting over the contract for the Velodrome, which is about 1.5 miles from my house, and trying to negotiate it with Sir Robert McAlpine, Glasgow City Council, Sport Scotland, and I've already done presentations to boards in France and to the board in London, and now we're going forward and we're 1-2 and we're trying to win it. And I went fundily, mundily, 300 and do. See, before I even got to sit at my desk back at that office, I'd have been given my bottles.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing you could stand and go, a fumbly, mumbly, dumbly dee. No.
But it's taking ineptitude to an art form.
Oh, aye. But Ed,
the rest of us are.
But what we forget is this: they don't care what we think.
Mm-hmm.
So the arrogance, the sheer bravado that stands before us, these everyday lectures about how they've managed to soften the curve and how they've managed to...
Everyday lectures, did you say?
Yeah, yes. Take a drink, subscribe, long you go. This is the thing for me. Susie said a really important thing about the art form of comedy earlier on, and to which she is a true professional. I mean, we're just a couple of RMNs who are really pissed off. But the reality of the matter is, we need people like comedians, artists, commentators to now come out stronger than ever and galvanise this position.
Yeah, so here's your problem with that, right? You've got punters like me, East End, brought up in a nice area of East End. My dad was a spark, my mum was a home help. parents done well through nothing other than sheer hard work and determination, and obviously the benefit of the timeline of when they were born, right? Because they were fortunately housed and stuff like that. And I was made not to forget where I come from and see that whole Arctic Monkeys, Oasis, comedians from my background, these people, you need that working class grit in there.
Or the ethic, that working class ethic, Susie.
Or alternatively, you get kids that have had a gap year and then studies, and they've never known.
I had a gap year because I failed all my exams.
Why you're in a Marks and Spencer suit, son? I'm in a Fred Perry, right?
I had a gap year. I failed my exams. Right? I mean,
I've got to qualify this Marks and Spencer suit thing. By the way, the only reason that I managed to get a Marks and Spencer suit was because I did the proper nurse thing and married a doctor. That's how I can do this.
Oh, yeah.
that's no proper. I married a doctor as well. I married a.
Here I live in Democrats, Jesus.
Yeah,
listen, if you want to be educated,
I spent the doctor's money on a suit. Stuart's obviously spent it on hair product. But
as I said earlier, I've got more product in here than I'm not going to say it. I'll get
no, don't even say it. I think, Susie, you hit on a really valid point when you were speaking before about the 400,000 items of PPE, and when we're speaking about ministerial incompetence and governmental incompetence, what level have people got to be at where they go, it's fine, everybody. We've ordered 400,000 new items of PPE. And they're coming all the way from Turkey, and this is going to solve the problem completely. And then the next day, it turns out they haven't placed the order. And then there's a delay, and then there's a delay. And then they turn up, and every single one of those pieces is wrong. Now, Stuart and I spoke about this the other day. How bad, because nursing staff are going on the front line with nothing. They're going out there with no gowns, and they're not prepared to give these gowns from Turkey to nursing staff on the grounds that they don't meet standards. Now, the difference that we're speaking about here is these gowns were probably worse than not having a gown. So who's ordered these things? That's nearly 500,000 items of equipment that were worse than not having anything at all.
I think just be thankful that Matt Hancock didn't get each individual nurse and doctor to go down to their own sorting office to pick up their own gown from Royal Mail, because that's the next step. Obviously, we can't afford to deliver it to the hospital, so if you just want to go to the sorting office, remember to take your passport or your driving licence and pick up your own PPE, and if it doesn't fit, tough, because that's the next stage for that government.
I think probably what happened was they went on Amazon to order nurses' outfits, and they accidentally clicked on slutty nurses' outfits. And it's probably come back with aprons with massive holes cut here, and crotchless gowns, and all that manner of thing. That's probably where we were at.
That's it. How did you get the COVID? Well, I was wearing a PVC latex outfit. I was taking somebody's temperature. I mean,
I got COVID.
Why are you complaining?
Yeah.
Why are you complaining? You couldn't get a proper mask, but we gave you a gimp mask. What are you moaning about? It was a zip. Do you know what I mean? Fuck. What are you moaning about?
I did
Do you
get
know what
COVID.
I mean? Everybody's running about ITU like a bunch of Mexican wrestlers wearing capes and a pair of fucking budgie smugglers. It's just...
I got COVID. I also got the clap. And
Zed's
50
dead,
quid.
Yeah. Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. What can I say?
Listen, folks, that's 20 to 11 now. I think we've probably wittered on long enough. But thank you, everybody. I'm just going to do a very quick unmute all. Susan's internet connection has dropped out, but I want you to just put your hands together, everybody, and show your appreciation for the acts that have been on tonight. That's great. And then I can just stop the applause now. Look at that. The power I have is fantastic. Folks, it's been an absolutely wonderful event. Stuart, I'm sure that you've had a good time as well.
I have. It never ceases to amaze me, the power of a community coming together. And reading some of the comments, I got a couple of the Twitter page got some really nice comments about people feeling really included, folk having felt really isolated, people feeling just they wanted to engage with their peers. And this really lifts you and I as well, doesn't it? We both get a lot from this.
Yeah, I get quite a lot because I'm allowed to just stand in my front room basically mainlining whiskey at night, and this is
this is we actually, I don't know if it came across just before we finished, but we're both quite embarrassed about the concept to bringing the Patreon thing forward because it doesn't sit well with us idealistically, but we get that you guys get something from this. And we want to give that, we want to put all of that back, and we want to propel that back into growing our community. And I say our community it's not just Ed and I. We're trying to line up some really excellent, I think excellent interviews in the coming weeks with people who we believe are influential in the nursing field and have got views of how social care and health should continue under the just absolute dog's dinner of government that we've got at the moment. So we thank you for coming out. We want to do more events like this. Please let us know if this is the type of thing that you want to do. We want to hear from you. We want to engage. Use that hashtag as well. We, if this is something that post lockdown, we recognise that we're in lockdown and this is a means to communicating, but I'd really like to think about how we take this to the next level. And I sound like some sort of arsehole in government now, but we want to continue working with you. Yeah, we do. And we sincerely mean that. So talk to us and give us that feedback. And it's lovely to see so many happy faces. Hopefully we've not pissed too many folk off.
I hopefully we've just pissed off the right number of people and the right people.
The folk to the right. Well, that's my left, but I'll point that
That's
way.
what I meant. Yeah.
Fuck
the folks off to the right.
The
live show, I'm not going to bleep out your use of the F word there, Stuart. But listen, folks, it's if you want to stick around for a last little bit of a laugh, I have again got the outro text to read out, and I've got to do that in one take. Like I said in the last live show, it normally takes me 9 or 10 goes.
Can I say something before you do that? Ed works really, really hard, really the technical stuff and pulling all of this together. And so if everybody's got a glass left, can I have a wee glass? Can you show me your glasses? Yeah, Linda Bailey's got nothing left to drink. She's hiding. Right. Ed, have you got your glass, Ed? A nice glass.
I have. I've got a lovely glass.
Yeah, one of two, two of two.
One of two. But this is how the bromance has developed. Stuart and I have got matching whiskey tumblers, which are engraved.
But the reality of the matter is that I want to raise a glass to every single one of you. I want to raise a glass to Ed, to the comedians who've been on so far, John Scott, Susie McCabe, Susan Morrison, because that's, in essence, that is a community. So before he does this and that outro, he puts so much work in. Ed, Slanger.
Skull, get it up you, as they say. Folks, thank you so much. Stay safe, stay well, look after yourselves. And here comes some god-awful music while I do the outro. Thank you for joining us for the second extra special live show podcast of RMN Behaving Badly. You really are a wonderful bunch of people. A massive thanks to our guests Susie McCabe and Susan Morrison. Join us for more discussion and political point scoring on Twitter at RMNBB Podcast. Stuart is at Stuart McKenzie, and I'm at Ed Freshwater. Susie is at Susie_McCabe, and Susan is at Susie Mo with a Z. And you can find links to their website on our website at rmnbehavingbadly.co.uk. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for RMN Behaving Badly and see what comes up. Send us comments, thoughts, even abuse disguised as banter, because, come on, you were only kidding. But were you? Really? If you're a fan of this podcast, we've just launched our Patreon site. If you're interested in supporting the work of the podcast, please consider becoming a patron. If you join at the half-cocked tier or above, I'd be reading out your name right now, marking you out for all the world to see as a person of magnificent taste and wisdom. Links are on our website, or go to patreon.com/RMN Behaving Badly. Being a patron means we can afford to put on more live shows like this. Any cash raised goes into growing the podcast because we're not in this for the money. I mean, we're nurses after all. Incidentally, if you're not a fan of the podcast, why on earth are you still listening? Are you from the NMC? Because if you are, Stuart made me say it. Intro music for the show is by Epij. All the other music is by Kevin MacLeod, which you can hear at incompetech.filmmusic.io, which is seriously the weirdest domain name ever, but the sounds are fantastic. Please remember to subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Pocket Casts, Audio Bubble, Melchior, Dog, Banana, Fungible, Almond, Biscuit, Sardine, Mop. Damn it, my script writers got word salad.
Fig roll.
Well, some of those were real. Subscribe now and never miss an episode. We'll also put this show on YouTube for you to live over again and again and again. One more time, thank you for listening. We appreciate you more than you can know. We'll be back with another episode as soon as the government does something stupid. So like 20 minutes from now. In the meantime, stay well, stay safe. Speak to you soon. Good night.
Good night. Cheers, folks.